When I was asked to MC this, I was handed a DVD of last year's performance, and I was told, hey, this Warren Anderson guy, you got to check him out. So I was able to watch. I think it's fitting that he's speaking today on Swing for the Fence because last year he knocked it out of the ballpark. I'm not going to give him a great introduction. He just said there wasn't anything special he wanted me to say, but I did pick up from last year that he loves speaking to young people. And I think that's going to be a key note today for the young people that we have here. So please help me in welcoming Mr. Warren Anderson to the podium.
Welcome. Appreciate it. Good afternoon. Good afternoon. Give yourselves a hand. Just give yourselves a hand. My friend said he came up on stage and he thought he may have pulled a hamstring. I thought I pulled one just looking at them. I said, my God, I remember when, but those days are long gone. And so lest I try to embarrass myself, I stayed in my seat next to Pastor Mincy where I was safe. And just delighted to be back in Hagerstown again this year. I thank you so much for the invitation, President Altieri and the diversity staff for the Martin Luther King Day celebration. Thank you, thank you, thank you. I am honored. I thought sure you would have got enough of me last year, but I guess you didn't get enough. So here I am again. Delighted to have my lovely wife, Nadine, with me. Just wave your hand, Nadine. And I was excited to get the invitation because you're right, I always enjoy speaking to young people. That's going to be the focus. Those of you that are over 25, you're just along for the ride. But I want to really speak to young people, both those are young and those that are wishing they were young again. Because when you think about it, we're really all in this thing together. Young people are often trying to get old, and then older people are wishing they were young again. And so hopefully one day we'll meet somewhere in the middle, and we'll all be happy. Again, just glad to be here today. Want to talk today for a few minutes from the theme Swing for the Fence, or Swinging for the Fence. But before I get into that, I want to make some brief comments that we are here today. One of the reasons we're here is to honor the memory and legacy of Dr. Martin Luther King, Jr. Let me give just a brief summary of some of his life's accomplishments before I get into really what I want to talk about today, which kind of flows right out of what he was and what he did. There's a national memorial in Washington, D.C. If you have not seen it yet, I encourage you to drive down to Washington, to D.C., to look at the Martin Luther King National Memorial. Awesome sight. Just standing there beholding this huge rock structure. Is really two structures. And out of this rock was chiseled a very graphic image of Dr. Martin Luther King, Jr. This day is in honor of him. Think about it. A national holiday with your name on it. What could you possibly do to get the entire country to recognize you? Let me move on. He was born in 1929 in very humble beginnings in the segregation of South. Blacks could not drink from white water fountains. They could not go to school together. They had to sit on the back of the bus. And in this Jim Crow era was birthed Dr. Martin Luther King, Jr. But he had something inside of him that moved him to move beyond the restrictions of his circumstances. He enrolled in Morehouse College when he was only 15 years old. How many of you in here are 15? Struggling to get out of ninth grade. And he was entering into Morehouse College, and he decided to pursue the ministry. He pastored his first church when he was 25. And he decided he was going to continue his education, and he finally did. He worked hard. He disciplined himself. Young men, while he was in school, he left the ladies alone so he could concentrate on his studies, and ended up getting his doctoral degree. He led the Montgomery, Alabama bus boycott that was made famous by Rosa Parks when she said, "My feet hurt. I just can't stand up and let someone else have my seat." And so he led that boycott. He was only 26 years old. Imagine that. Most of us are still lost at 26. But at 26, Dr. King was leading a nationwide effort, particularly in the South, to desegregate the buses down in Alabama. He gave his I Dream a Dream speech in 1963 in front of the Lincoln Memorial with 250,000 people in attendance. And it was at this point that the civil rights movement was pretty much geared toward black people. But he had a dream that expanded it to include a diverse group of people. Matter of fact, he describes all people, blacks, whites, rich, poor, those who are from Africa, those who are from Asia, those who are from China. He included everybody in that speech. He won a Nobel Peace Prize when he was only 35 years old. And the money that he got from the Peace Prize, I think at this point was several $1,000s. He didn't even accept it. He gave it back to charity. And then at 36 or 37, he started to plan the Poor People's Campaign in Washington, D.C., in which I was really a part of. I was there at home during the summer from college, which I gave you my college experience last year. We won't go back into that again. But I was on that mall when you had thousands of people who came from all over the country, all hues, all races, all creeds and colors, and they gathered there living in tents to dramatize the need for the federal government to improve the living conditions of poor people, not just poor black people, because at that time, and there still are poor white people too. And our economic divisions divided us. And he said we need to come together because when it's all said and done, we're brothers. And before he could get totally that Poor People's Campaign off the ground, he was killed. He was assassinated in Memphis, Tennessee at 38 years old. And you ask yourself, how could somebody so young do so much? How could somebody from those humble, poverty-stricken conditions do so much? And we emphasize, particularly today on Martin Luther King, I Have a Dream, and certainly that was the highlight of his life. But today, I don't want to emphasize the dream. I want to emphasize the decision. Because many of us have dreams, but we have not decided to bring those dreams into reality. Anybody can dream, but it takes somebody that's committed with some integrity and with some stamina to say, I'm going to decide to make my dream a reality. And so we want to focus today not so much on the dream, because all of you have dreams. Hopefully you have dreams. But in order to make that dream sometime more than a nightmare, you're going to have to decide, no matter how young you are, to make your dream a reality by deciding you can do it. I want everybody to look at somebody and say, I have a decision to make. Come on, don't look at me. Look at them and say, I have a decision to make. And say, on this day, January 18th, 2016, I decide to make my dream a reality. And so I asked that question. It challenged me. I said, how did he do it? I wasn't so much interested in what Dr. King did, which was marvelous, was tremendous, but I'm a guy who likes to ask questions. I not only wanted to know what he did, I wanted to know, more importantly, how did he do it? It's one thing to say, oh, this is a wonderful building, but how was it built? You got your degree, but how did you get it? Magic Johnson and Julius Erving and a lot of ball players got into the Hall of Fame and played great years, but what went into their life, their integrity, their discipline that brought about that dream into reality? So we not only want to talk about the dream, we want to talk about the decision to make the dream a reality. And so when I was challenged, can y'all hear me if I move? Can you hear me if I move? Yeah. All right, good. I like to move. I like to move. You know, maybe I'll try this something. How do I decide to make that dream a reality? Not just what can be done, but how do I do it? And I found out that getting to know the how of the situation will unlock for me not only how you do it, but it will unlock for me how I can do it also. Let me talk to the young people just If I don't swing for the fence, it's one thing. If I strike out, so what? But I might hit it out the park. So they said one time Babe Ruth, he was so confident, he walked up to the plate and pointed to the field that he was going to hit it out of there. And they go, oh, here it come, here it come. And sure enough, he was not hitting it out the park like this. Babe Ruth decided not to play it what? Safe. Now here's the question. How many of you have abilities? How many of you have potential? How many of you have desires? How many of you have dreams? How many of you have the capacity to do something great? Your only problem is you're in the wrong position. You don't want to take any chances. You don't want folk to laugh at you. They're going to laugh anyway. If you strike out, they're going to laugh. Come on. If you get up to the plate, they're going to laugh. And so what if you laugh? I'm going to swing for the fence. I love this definition of potential. It's in a book. This is potential. This is what you could do if you really put your mind to it. I love this definition. Potential defined. Potential is dormant ability, reserved power, untapped strength, unused success, hidden talents, capped capability. All you can be, but you have not become yet. All you can do that you have not done yet. How far you can reach, but you have not reached yet. What you can accomplish, you have not accomplished yet. Potential is unexposed ability and latent, unused power. There are A students looking at me right now that are getting C's. I see you just bowed your head. Don't tell nobody. Your mom knows you can do it. Your dad knows you can do it. Your teacher knows you can do it. But you have decided, I'm going to play. C is safe. If I get an A's, they're going to say, he think he's all that. She thinks she's getting A's. Well, so let it be. Turn around and tell somebody, let them laugh. I'm going to tell them again, let them laugh. When I'm walking across the stove, when I'm walking across the stage with my degree and my diploma in the hand, let them laugh, let them laugh, let them laugh. You are gifted, but you can't just play it safe. You've got to get even as a mock hammer, and you have got to do what? Swing for the fence. I just hit it. I can see it going out the park now. As soon as that thing starts sailing out the park, everybody jumps up. And then you just walk them back to the dugout. When you swing for the fence, you release all of the power, all of the giftings, all of the abilities, all of the juices, all of the genius you have inside of you. Honey, you got to just let that thing rip. You got to let it go and do what? Swing for the fence. And that's how Martin Luther King was able to accomplish what he accomplished, because he didn't play it safe. I remember a number of years ago, I was 30 years old, and just a young fellow had never been out of the country. A friend of mine came to me one day and said, Brother Anderson, why don't you come and go to the Philippine Islands with me? I said, I can't go to no Philippine Islands. I don't have no money. We walked, he said, think of it this way. You stay home, you have no money. You have no money. You may as well come go to the Philippines and have no money. And when he said that, you know what I said when he said that? I said, I'm going. With no money. I did something that positioned me from going from the bunt stage to the swing for the fence stage. I told people I wanted to go. Some of you are one person away from getting everything you need. There's a scripture that says, you have not because you ask not. This side goes to church. I don't know about all I feel like having an altar call right now. Let me tell you something, young people. Don't be afraid to ask. All they can say is no. But the other side of no is yes. And you'll never give them a chance to say yes until you give them a chance to say no. And every no is just a yes waiting to happen. And that money supernaturally came in. I went to the Philippines. I'm a little young African-American guy going to a strange country. One of my friends said, you can't go to the Philippines. You don't know nobody over there. I said, when I get over there, get off the plane, I'm going to shake somebody's hand, say, what's your name? Tell them I said, then I don't know somebody. One way to spin that cat. And so the people love me, I love them. It was a marvelous trip. And I realized the world was a lot bigger than I thought it was. And when I got ready to board the plane to come back to the United States, they were lined up to get my autograph. I said, my God, nobody knew I was alive in the United States. Here they are trying to get my autograph. And you know, I'm bunting them. I'm trying to write my name. Warren T. Anderson. I said, oh, I can be a rock star like everybody else. I said, mess with me, I'll sign my name. You know it's me. I could have easily have stayed home. I could have easily have bunted on the opportunity. I could have easily told him I didn't have any money and stopped. But I made a decision to swing for the fence. President Altieri just told me that so many kids are having to drop out of school because of lack of funds. If anybody in here is threatening that situation, let me ask you, who knows that you have a need? Who have you told you need help? How many of you know that everybody needs help? Sometimes. No shame in saying, I don't want nobody to know I need help. No, you need help. You can't hide. Just look at some of you and say, my God, they really need help. Who knows you're struggling? Who knows you're battling with geometry? Who knows you can't hardly deal with algebra or French? You're just one request away from getting what you need. I was raised in Washington, D.C., and I'm almost through. Rough side of town. My dad was old school. He used to be a boxer. He's a he-man. That's all I knew all I wanted to be a man. And one day, in my neck of the woods, we lived in alleys. We slept in the house, but we lived in the alley. And so, one day, I was about 12 years old. I was out in the alley fighting with a guy named Bernard. Bernard was built like a brick battleship. Had muscles everywhere. And I was scared of Bernard. But this true story. I'm out there fighting Bernard. Now in my neighborhood, when there was a fight, the whole neighborhood showed up and took a ringside seat. Hit him! Hit him! Hit him! Hit him! Hit him! Don't run! Hit him! Bernard was knocking my lights out. Bam! Bam! I was always a lover. I never was a fighter. Bam! 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 I had marks, red eyes. I said, I can't take it no more. They were screaming and hollering. I turned right next to my house. I turned, opened up the gate, and ran up the steps to get into my house. And when I got to the door to open it, my father was standing there grinning. And he said, I reached for the door, he said, click! And locked, true story, and to turn around and go out there and fight like a man. I turned around and looked at Bernard and said, ah! Don't hit me no more, Bernard! That incident taught me a marvelous lesson. That sometimes when swinging for the fence, you're going to face adversity. Sometimes in swinging for the fence, you're going to be being pitched to by a pitcher that seems like he knows your number. But you cannot run. You cannot hide. You cannot quit. You cannot duck. You got to dodge. You cannot dodge. You're going to have to turn around and go back and fight like a man. So I want to encourage you, young and old alike, swing for the fence. The fence is calling you. The fence is saying, I'm here. The fence is not going to move. I can see you got it already. I can see it right there. Yeah. You see it. The fence is saying, come on. You can do it. Swing. Yeah, I'm scared to swing. If you're scared to swing or don't swing, you eliminate all possibilities of knocking it out the park. You are here today because you have everything that you need to hit it out the park. So I encourage you to swing for the fence. Thank you very much.